Hello, listeners, and welcome to the In Par Podcast. I am your host, Baden Delaney, and you can find me here every Tuesday and Thursday covering all things golf. Since the pandemic, golf has become more popular than ever, and I am here to bring you golf news, updates, hot takes, and so much more, so that you are always in the loop. For those of you that are new here, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the In Par Podcast, where we talk about golf all the time. I'm so excited to finally get this show up and running and really dive into some of the nuances of the golf world. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we have a very special opening show as we are going to talk about golf in a broad sense and specifically the rise of golf in recent years. Today I am joined alongside an established golfer himself who has been playing for over 6 years and is currently a 10 handicap, which for those of you that don't know, he's very good at golf, and someone who follows golf more than the majority of people, Christopher Smalley. Chris, thanks so much for being here with me today, and I can't wait to dive into this topic and hear your insights.
Thank you for having me in the In Par Podcast. I'm excited to be here to tell everybody about golf and hopefully teach some other people about how great golf truly is. Some may say I'm pretty good, you know?
Awesome, Chris. So to get right into this, in the past 5 years or so, since the COVID-19 pandemic specifically, golf has been one of the fastest growing sports in America with no signs of slowing down. According to the National Golf Foundation, golf has a total reach of 138 million people in the United States. This number includes people who have played, watched it online or in person, read about it, or listened to a podcast about it. This number is up 45% since record keeping began in 2016. These numbers are astounding as golf has its last boom when a man named Tiger Woods came into the mix back in 1996. Since that time frame, golf hit a plateau in growth, and even then, with more eyes on the sport, it wasn't played or watched nearly as much as it is now. So Chris, do these numbers surprise you at all? And have you seen this growth firsthand? Because these are not small numbers by any means, and you are someone who's been involved with the sport throughout all of this since the pandemic.
You know, the numbers would look like they're shocking, but to be honest with you, no. With the growth on YouTube Golf and through the pandemic with, Good and Bob Does Sports and all these guys who are making golf entertaining and not just a sport where you're hitting a ball, walking up to it, not reading the putt and things like this, it changes the way you look at the sport. Now, Tiger Woods was just the beginning of it. We have people nowadays like John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, Phil Mickelson, Grant Horvat, who's a YouTube golfer, who is now changing, the world of golf and now hitting these peaks, which is pretty awesome to see.
That's very well said. Now, we'll get into, the YouTube golfers and the more casual style of golf that has become a little bit later in this episode. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on this because the way that I see it, the pandemic itself was a major player in this golf boom taking place. People needed to find things to do while being outside with one another, and they also wanted hobbies that took up a lot of time, so they weren't, in the house all day. They wanted to get out in the sun. The PGA Tour spoke on the mental aspects that golf helped during the stressful pandemic times, and according to the PGA, they said, quote unquote, recent research highlights the game's role in helping people to escape everyday stress, and many are playing it to recharge their mental battery. There are many benefits, economic, charitable, and human, that our industry provides in communities, quote unquote. What are your thoughts on this, Chris? Because obviously the mental aspect that golf helps is huge, and during the pandemic, people looked to golf for an out of, the sitting inside all day and things of that nature. So how did the pandemic and the mental aspects of golf really ignite this boom a couple years ago?
Well, so for the pandemic, so to speak, golf was the only sport you could really play because, you could throw around a football, but, that's contaminating, the football, and you're getting your blood, sweat, and tears on that. And golf, you could play your own ball, you have your own golf clubs, you're not really touching anything that anyone else is touching. And I even remember, playing golf during the pandemic where they wouldn't even let you take the flags out of the hole. So you weren't even, in golf, you essentially take the flag out when you're going to make a putt. But during the pandemic, they would not let you do this. and that was a cool thing that they did. And you also didn't let the ball go fully in the hole. They put like little guards over so nobody was touching the same hole. Seeing this happen and being able to be outside during the pandemic, that's where golf exploded. And you're right. These things that golf provides, other sports don't. And the golf boom truly was booming during the pandemic.
Thank you. Now that we have talked about the general impact of the pandemic, I would like to get into how you were impacted personally. You played golf before, during, and after the pandemic. Have you noticed an increase in the amount of people playing, the amount of golf media, and the outreach that it has? How much you're seeing it on Instagram and YouTube, and just articles online, or how much it's shown even on ESPN, a site that covers all sports, but golf is on it more now than it ever has been. Because you've been around the game through all of this, have you noticed firsthand, the 45% uptick in players playing and the overall reach of golf?
I've definitely noticed it, and not all great ways. Especially on the golf course, you're seeing a lot of inexperienced players that are damaging the courses and really aren't playing the correct way, which is fine. It's great. I love the sport is growing, but that kind of sucks. There are obviously negatives to sports growing, but there's way more positives in that. Golf media is soaring. I've never seen so many people talk about golf. It is something that I honestly used to hate myself, and watching golf myself kind of wasn't that entertaining. I always thought, oh, this is so stupid, until you actually play golf and you realize how insane some of these shots are that these pros hit, and all this groundbreaking stuff with swing speed and average ball speed, and how long a putt is that they make, and all the directions and breakings and degrees. There's something called aim point, which I don't even fully understand myself, with how these pros read putts. All these new cool nuances that you get to see, it's all because of this growth from the pandemic, and getting the golf name out there was pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome to see.
Awesome. I know for me, around the pandemic, maybe a year or two after, is when I really fell in love with the game. I think a lot of that was the outreach that it had in the media. So for you, did you play more at that time? Is that when golf really piqued your interest? Are you happy about the boom of golf? And do you think the pandemic was overall positive for the game of golf? Obviously, it was a tough time for a lot of people, but a lot of people in the golf space are very thankful for what the pandemic did for the sport, such as the PGA. They love how many eyes are on their sport now. So do you think that the pandemic was overall positive for the game and where it's at now, and do you think the game is at a better place than before the pandemic?
Yes, it's definitely positive. There are negatives, obviously, but the positives always outweigh the negatives. I'm happy about the boom in golf because now I get to play with a lot of my buddies instead of playing with some of my dad's friends, which kind of sucks some of the time. But, getting out on the course with some of my buddies and, hanging out and, getting away from your phone for 4 hours is pretty awesome. I also love that now in golf there's two leagues, Live Golf and the PGA Tour. Live Golf is, providing more money to the players, and that's pretty awesome to see. They're kind of bringing the social aspect to golf, where you listen to music on the golf course and you're, doing these outros and intros for the players. It's pretty cool to see. A lot of new nuances that the PGA Tour didn't have and still don't have, but the PGA Tour has that nostalgia behind it, and like the Masters and everything else around it. I also like to bring up the Ryder Cup, which recently just happened, which was pretty awesome to see. That actually took place at Bethpage Black in New York, and the number of fans that were in attendance was pretty amazing to see, and getting all of these people to watch this sport is pretty awesome, and it helped me fall in love with the game more, and I think it's starting to help more people fall in love with the game as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I will definitely say, in terms of people our age, around college kids, even high schoolers now, 20-year-olds, young adults, whatever it may be, there are so many more people playing the game. I remember, couple years before the pandemic, even right at the start of it, I wasn't really playing. And now there's so many people who are new to the game since that time. There's always people that are willing to play, people that have fallen in love with the game. Even if they just play every couple of weeks, the game has grown a lot. So switching gears a little bit now, I just wanted to talk to you about a few things like the money side of golf and also how media has transformed the game. I know that we touched on media a little bit. We're going to dive a little bit more into depth on that. According to the PGA Tour, when the golf boom came in 2022, roughly 1 in 7 Americans played golf. This resulted in $101.7 billion in direct economic impact, a 20% increase from the $84.1 billion in 2016. Is this surprising to you at all, and how do you think this helps organizations like the PGA Tour and like Live Golf themselves, because they just have to be loving the growth and how much money it's providing them, whether it's in ticket sales, whether it's in, supporting PGA Tour golfers or, just watching it on TV and streams on the broadcast and things of that nature. Does the money boom surprise you at all, and how have you seen it change since, golf has taken this next big leap these past couple of years?
I mean, I didn't fully know the numbers until you just said that, which is, pretty astonishing and pretty awesome to hear. I wouldn't say it's surprising to me. I would say it's a little bit more surprising. Is not the word, but I think it's awesome to hear, and I think it's something that I definitely could have seen coming in the future with a lot of people learning how to play the sport. Learning how to play the sport is easier than it ever has been because of the YouTubes and the Instagrams and the Snapchat Reels and everything that people are on nowadays. And social media is helping the sport grow, astronomically. I've never seen anything like it, and it's honestly awesome to see. And bringing all this money in, hopefully they continue to bring it to good use and up their game even more.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Touching on media a little bit more, media has been a big revenue builder for the game, but more importantly, it is maybe as important for the growth of the game as the pandemic was. There are so many YouTube channels, like you mentioned before, Instagram accounts, TikTok accounts, and more that are golf-oriented that reach millions and millions of people every single day. Some notable names in this space are, like you said, Grant Horvat, who has 1.5 million subscribers and regularly gets over 1 million views. Some videos touching, 5 to 10 million views. And then Bob Does Sports, who has really brought the casual aspect of golf to YouTube, who has 1.4 million subscribers and counting. And there's so many more people. Even professionals like Bryson DeChambeau make videos. He goes on the weekends and plays these Live Golf events, but during the week he's filming videos with these content creators to grow the game. Some of this content portrays different fun aspects of golf, like we touched on. It includes challenges and is an alternative to just the professional golf on TV. That was what everyone would always watch. People thought about watching golf as turning on 6 hours of golf on Thursday through Sunday, and that's just not strictly what it is anymore. What are your thoughts on this content? How is it pushing the game out? How much of the growth of golf can be attributed to this media? Do you watch it yourself? And how has it really helped the sport grow and get to a new demographic and new people?
Well, so like you were saying, I love the Bryson DeChambeau videos that he makes, the break 50s, the challenges he does. Seeing such an elite golfer play these public courses that, the casuals play, it's pretty amazing to see. He's even said in his videos before that it may be even harder to play some of these public courses because they're not as well maintained. And, going on your point, it definitely has attributed to the growth of golf, the social media and the YouTube world. Bob Does Sports is the most casual golfer I've ever seen in my world. And let me tell you, he is terrible. But he is so fun to watch and bringing that energy to the golf course. Who wouldn't want to be there? They're slamming some beers, having donuts, doing all these different things. It's fun to see. It brings attention to the golf world. Grant Horvat does the same thing, kind of like Bryson does. He's not a professional, but he's pretty dang good. And a lot of the growth in the world and the golf world can be attributed to the social media. And Good was originally the original one. watching them during the pandemic, hitting a hole in one on a par 4. I mean, you never see that. It was pretty amazing to see. But yeah.
Yeah, and going off of the media and the casualness of golf, and the demographic expanding as a whole, things like Top Golf or golf simulators have played a big role in that shift. People always saw the game as intimidating, as you had to go out and spend 5 hours of your day on 18 holes playing one of the hardest and most, mentally rigorous sports. But now you can go to a place like Top Golf, get some food, get some drinks, and hit golf balls around with music and with your friends around you. How has golf, leaving the kind of elitist, stuck-up kind of old, rich sport and turning into this more, younger demographic with music and the social aspect, how has that helped the game grow? Do you enjoy these things like Top Golf? Have you gone? And how have you seen, different kinds of people get into the game of golf because it's not strictly 18 holes on a country club?
I mean, I was in the field of saying that golf was boring. Until you truly play it, you may not love it as much as you think you will. I mean, it is incredible what some of these professionals do. And even, watching, some of my buddies play golf that are terrible and they hit a great shot. And I'm like, that is awesome. Like, it is so fun to see. Going off your Top Golf point, I mean, I think Top Golf was one of the coolest inventions they have. I mean, you get to hang out, have some food, have some drinks, and, hit some golf balls about as hard as you can. You can play these fun games or you hit them into the bigger holes and things like that. But they're even expanding on that nowadays with, like, Albatross or, like, these indoor simulators where you get to see, like, again, these cool statistics that the pros see, but, for a more affordable price. I think it's a cool idea, and, it's taking away from that it has to be a country club or it has to be some old guy playing golf. I mean, you see that still nowadays, and you'll run into the grumpy guys on the course, but, it's always fun to see the new life coming into the course, and it's something interesting and awesome that I love.
Yeah, 100%. I can remember a time before I started playing when I think it gets stereotyped a lot, where when you think of golf or when you thought of golf years ago, you thought of, the retired guy who was in corporate America who now has a country club membership, and it's full of money and it's full of people of wealth and power. And now it's become much more accessible, much more affordable, and a game that truly, like, all Americans and all people around the world can play at different levels, whether it be Top Golf, whether it be you paying $300,000 a year for a membership. There's all these different levels of golfers now, and it's made the game so much more, enjoyable for all types of people. So just kind of moving on, we've seen in the past years, it's been a time of economic and overall growth for the game of golf, and it really has been amazing to watch as someone who loves the sport. I think that the sport needs to continue to capitalize on social media and reach the younger generation consistently, as well as work on becoming more affordable for some golfers. There's a lot of college kids who can't afford rounds of golf, and I think that through these past couple of years, that's definitely gotten better. Clubs can also be thousands of dollars, balls are expensive, and tee times are as well. With how hard the sport is, people don't want to spend the money all the time to just not play well. I would like to hear some of your thoughts on what the sport needs to do to stay popular and to grow even more in the upcoming years and in the future.
Well, I will say golf is very expensive, and rounds over the summer can add up to a lot of money. I think what golf really needs to do is continue the idea of what Kirkland is doing, the Kirkland brand. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's essentially the Costco brand, and they make golf clubs that are more affordable and are still great to use. When I was still originally learning how to play golf and wasn't the greatest, I bought Kirkland wedges. And let me tell you, they spin like no other. And spin is a good thing sometimes. Sometimes it's a bad thing, but it was pretty cool seeing these lower-end clubs or cheaper-priced clubs do the same thing as, some of the greater clubs like Callaway Jaws, which are $100 a club, instead of, the Titleists in the world. It was Kirkland, which was $30 for a wedge, which is still not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than it was. So honestly, I really think, golf needs to move into the world where, it's not as expensive. And that may be hard with everything they have to do to maintain the course, but, maybe continuing like these par 3 courses or something like that where you can learn originally and then, from there go on to the bigger course.
Yeah, definitely. I know one of the best options for those of you out there that are looking to get into golf or want, different clubs or new clubs, Golf Galaxies and, Dick's Sporting Goods is partnered with them. They have a lot of pre-owned clubs that are in pretty good condition. I know that I've bought some, and it really help you keep the budget down. I just want to touch on that. I think that overall, you said it good, making the game, more affordable is a big key, and I think we could both agree that technology and media isn't going anywhere. We're using technology right now. So I think that the PGA Tour has done a good job with golf and getting into, media with the Creator Classic and things like that, where they bring some of these creators to a more formal, like, PGA setting. So I think that as long as these bigger, corporations and companies within golf capitalize on media and get in the game to men and women, to the young generation, to the older generation, to women and men, whatever it may be, the more people that can get into the game will help it be in a place for it to keep evolving. And finally, I just wanted to get some kind of casual talk going, as I know you love playing golf yourself. Before we wrap up, I just want to know, do you have any goals for your golf game in the coming months, in the coming years? You're an accomplished golfer, but considering the game is growing, you will likely be playing for years and years to come. So is there anything that you plan on doing in the future, anything in your game you want to clean up, or some goals you have, or some courses you want to see, or things like that?
Before I hit on that note, I actually wanted to bring up the point where you're bringing up the women and men in golf, and I thought that was pretty awesome. And Good actually just had an event called King of the Mountain where they paired up a woman and a man, and they competed against each other, and I thought that was pretty cool. And that wasn't even on YouTube. That was on the Golf Channel, which was an insane step up from what they were doing. And, getting the world out there and expanding even more is, it's awesome to hear. For your last question, I think my goals are obviously continue to get better, learn how to hit a draw better, because right now I just like to hit cuts, and sometimes they'll slice a little bit too much. But for the next coming years, I want to drop my handicap. My overall goal is to get to a scratch golfer. I don't know how, approachable or easy that will be. That will be to come. It takes time and effort, but I'm excited to graduate and play more golf, and playing golf outings with the company I'm going to be working with. So that'll be fun to do. But yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's clear that the game of golf is in a good place, in large part to the pandemic and the rise of social media and just media as a whole, and how casual things like Topgolf have come into the mix. Chris, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and I hope we can have you on again in the future and talk a little bit more golf, maybe a different theme. Your insight truly was amazing, and you really do know so much about this amazing sport. So I wanted, to see if you had any final words for the listeners around the game of golf, and maybe a little call to action for them to get into the game themselves.
My final words are 2 things. Don't bring a girl on a first date to Topgolf if you suck at golf. It's not a good look. My last thing is, if you want to try something that's difficult, get into golf. It's a fun way to get things off your mind, and it's a great time to get away from your phone. I think it's a sport that truly teaches you a lot of patience, because it's not the easiest sport in the world to play. If it was easy, a lot more people will be playing it. But going off of everything, continuing to use these, YouTube tips and tricks from these golfers like Phil Mickelson and, some of the greats like Tiger Woods. Getting to see them in the real side of their personality has been pretty awesome. And thank you for having me on. I think this was awesome, and hopefully in the future we'll do it again.
Yeah, well, that is it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you would like, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I hope you come back around for our next episode. Bye for now, everyone, and have a good one. There you have it, folks. That was episode number 1 of the In Par Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as I said in the podcast, if you would be so kind to hit that like and subscribe button, that would be absolutely amazing. And hopefully we'll see you next time on the In Par Podcast.